power.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Nintendo WireCast. My name is Amiibo Jason, and once again I am with my favorite co-host of all time, the legendary, the amazing TJ.
You sure do know how to build a guy up at the top of the day.
I do my best. You're one of these guys where you do so much stuff, I have no idea how to introduce you. I'm still flustered every time I talk to you because your life is just accomplishment after accomplishment, and it's weird because you're the most modest person I know, and it's strange to me how much you appreciate like everything I say. So I don't know what to say. I mean, you are one of the coolest guys I've ever met.
Thanks, man. I can throw that right back at you. It's difficult to see yourself through the prism that other people see you, and because for me, I know I just try as much as I can to accomplish as many goals as I can, and because when you're in the daily struggle, it doesn't always feel like accomplishment. A lot of the time it's like, oh, how am I going to keep my head above water doing this? And so to hear you describe it the way that you do, it is certainly very ego boosting.
Oh, TJ, you know how great you are. Come on.
Just like everybody else, I just want to produce good, honest work and,
all right,
and leave a positive legacy when I leave this world. If there are more people who are like, that TJ, he was an all right guy.
He was all right.
People who are like, what a jerk, I hate that TJ. And
I think I'm on like the 50-50
okay.
range myself. So I'm working on getting more people on my side.
I think I might be kind of like that too.
I don't know about that. But welcome to episode 2 of the Nintendo WireCast. This is our second weekly podcast we've done. Obviously, we've done other podcasts in the past, but this is the new, the amazing, just the fun TJ and Jason hour where we get to discuss anything happening in the world of Nintendo. It wasn't an absolutely insane week. It's not like we're coming off of a Nintendo Direct, so we don't have a massive amount of news to cover, but there are certain things that I know you and I have kind of had back and forths on Twitter, just kind of personally about a couple things. So we have Mario Kart Tour to talk about, which I know is kind of a polarizing subject to begin with, but I'm excited to talk about it. We have Ring Fit Adventure, which I am beyond excited about. I know last week I got really like fanboyed up about the Nintendo Switch Lite, but Ring Fit Adventure I'm getting really, really excited about too. So we have that to talk about. The PlayStation 5 got announced, and and it's not a PlayStation podcast, but at the same time too, I feel like what Sony does is going to directly influence what Nintendo is going to do. So we have some things to touch on there as well. What about you, TJ?
Maybe,
is there any
maybe
other
more specifically the other way?
Oh, say that again.
It more specifically seems like, at least lately, as far as their history is concerned, it goes the other way, where whatever Nintendo does influences what PlayStation does.
That is more true, for sure. I think it could be different, though. I don't want to get too much into the subject now, but I have some thoughts about how Nintendo might respond, because next year, I think, is going to be the Nintendo Switch's biggest test. So I'm curious to see how Nintendo is going to heed the call from the video game industry, with Project Scarlet coming out from Xbox and the PlayStation 5 coming out within like a 2-month period. So that's going to be a fun topic.
Discussion. Yeah.
So before we get into anything, what do you want to touch on first? Just our kind of kickoff thing. A lot of people might think you and I talk like on a regular basis, which it's not totally true. So this is the kind of time of day I kind of figure out what's new in your life. Like, is there anything exciting you want to cover?
Sure. Well, today is actually a holiday in Taiwan. Well, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm from Chicago. I lived in LA for 13 years, but now I live in Taiwan with my family, and it's a completely new experience. My mother-in-law has been out here for the past 2 months to kind of get us integrated into the city of Taipei. And it's been extremely helpful because she's from here, so she has the language, and she was able to deal with a lot of the legal and administrative aspects of it. But now my wife and I are on our own. Today happens to be a holiday in Taiwan. It's National Day, which is kind of equivocal to, people compare it to the American 4th of July.
Sure.
It's celebrating when China moved away from imperial rule, so kind of like the end of the emperor era and into more of a republic.
Yeah.
I'm not super well versed about it, so if any of that's inaccurate, then please forgive me to any of my Taiwanese friends who are aware of this holiday. But it means my daughter's off school, and so we're going to have a camping weekend. I am not a camper. I don't really enjoy that, but my kids want to do it very badly, and like many of the things that I do in my life, it's for the kids. So that's the latest and greatest there. And a little update about those purple and orange Joy-Cons that I mentioned in the previous one.
Oh, did you pick them up, by the way?
I attempted to. I called all of the different game places out here, and I don't know if this is an apt comparison, but the dedicated gaming store here, it's most like GameStop of all the stores I've seen.
Sure.
But it translates to game store, so
yeah.
I'm not being that generic when I say game store. They were the only ones who had any real specific information about it. And I believe they said that they get it the second week of November.
Oh,
wow. So nobody has it out here, and shipping from America is
way too much.
Not practical. Yeah, it's like $70. It like doubles the price of the Joy-Con. So I'll just wait.
What about like Japan? Can you import it from Japan?
Yeah, from Japan there are like another extra $20.
Okay.
So I'm not in urgent need for them, so I'll just wait until they hit the shelves in a few weeks.
I don't know. I want the purple ones for sure. But like I said before, I've graduated to the Switch Lite. I kind of think my Joy-Con days are mostly over, except for Ring Fit, which requires Joy-Con. But that being said, I mean, I don't think I'm going to collect every single color anymore. It's just not my cup of tea. You have a massive family, though, so I think the more the merrier, especially when they're drifting like crazy.
Yeah, this should finish me off, though, because then it will allow us to have each player in a 4-player game to have a complete Joy-Con set.
Yeah.
I don't have any Pro controllers. I'm the most anti-Pro controller of
It's so weird to me. It's such a good controller.
I wish it was, because when it first got... I was lucky enough to go to the preview event in Los Angeles before the Switch released, and when they set that Pro controller into my hand, me and my friend who I was there with, Brandon Pugmire, we were both just like, oh, there was like this collective sigh of just how good it felt in my hand. And I played Street Fighter with it, and like, this controller is amazing. I almost immediately forgive how much I dislike the Joy-Con. And then when I actually spent significant time with one in Breath of the Wild, that D-pad is just like, it registers suggestions, not commands.
So
and
apparently they fixed it. So one of the things, I have a little show on this channel called the Nintendo Wiretap. And on today's episode, I'm guessing by the time you listen to this, it's going to be yesterday's episode. Somebody found a new Pro Controller SKU. So apparently these things were quietly shipped off to stores sometime in the last few weeks. They're at stores right now. People are attempting to get like teardowns done of these things to see what they've fixed. But the big consensus right now is it more than likely fixed the D-pad. Not to mention, there's been updates to the D-pad too with the Smash one and what was it? There was that red one. Oh, it was the Xenoblade. The Xenoblade one. Yeah. So I've had no issues whatsoever with the D-pad, but full disclaimer, there's not many games I play that I favor the D-pad on. Even like 2D games, I tend to favor the control stick over the D-pad, but that's just me.
I really am anti-analog stick.
Sure.
I would use a D-pad for everything. It's just my preference. If it's like a Animal Crossing and you have 360-degree character rotation, then that's fine. I can use the analog stick. But if I'm doing any 2D game, even Smash Brothers, I resent that I can't use the D-pad for Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Anything that's 2D, I want that button input precision, not the tilt of the joystick.
Right. Hey, it's to each their own. I totally get it. I love the Pro Controller. In fact, I just got done with this. Myself, my wife, happily candid, and my daughter just got done like absolutely like obliterating Goose Game. So Untitled Goose Game. We had more fun as a family playing that game than I think any other game we've ever played. Breath of the Wild
Wow.
comes like a close second, but Untitled Goose Game, I never like understood how a game about a jerk goose could bring my family so close together. We were laughing, we were on the floor. My daughter is like just great at being the goose. So we used the Pro Controller the entire time, and we just had an absolute blast. And by the way, if you've never picked that game up, for my dear listeners, you need to pick this game up. It is a blast. It's $20. There is more than $20 worth of fun in this game. So, TJ, have you had the opportunity to play this
I
game
have
yet?
not, but I will say you have probably sold me on this game. You didn't sell me on the Pro Controller yet,
Okay.
but that game, just hearing the way that you describe it, and I've heard you talk to it about it
Yeah.
earlier in the weekend, last week as well. It's got me excited for it. I was a little bit unsure what to make of it because
Yeah.
Untitled Goose Game has no insinuation of content, so
Yeah.
I knew it was about a goose, but other than that, the Untitled thing, I don't know.
I
don't
love
know.
it. I love the
I don't wanna
name.
mischaracterize.
It's generic. I mean, there's tasks. So if you're unfamiliar with this game, there's a task list, and you have to do very minimal things like you need to lock a gardener out of his garden, or you have to steal something and throw it into a lake. And anytime you pick something up, the townsfolk like start chasing you, and you have to try to evade them. They're faster than you. There's stealth into this, like stealth mode in this. I mean, it's really dumb, but it's incredibly fun.
The oxymoronical title is a really big put off to me.
Yeah.
Because it obviously does have a title, but saying that it's untitled as the title, I don't know. Maybe it's, you don't want to judge a book by its cover, but I don't know. Is it more fair to judge it by the title? I wish it was just called Goose Game. If they just called it Goose Game,
I call
be
it
more on
Goose
board.
Game. I mean, it's number one on the eShop. This game has made a boatload of money, so I think they did it to just kind of be funny. It was their working title.
Yeah.
And they were showing it off, and then the name just kind of stuck. So
Yeah.
I get why they did it. I think it's hilarious, but I highly recommend you pick it up. If you have the opportunity to pick it up, you have to get this one.
My kids play that game in real life
Oh,
here
yeah?
in Taiwan. There's birds everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's birds, and they are just obsessed with attempting to interact with them.
Yeah.
My son had pigeons all over him the other day, and my mother-in-law was like, "Do you have any idea how dirty those are?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." But
I'm not a
it
bird
was-
fan at all.
Birds are not a TJ fan. Like
No?
birds, like they hate me. They're out. I've been attacked by geese in real life at least half a dozen times.
Yeah.
If they're super territorial, so if you get anywhere near their, like, what are they called? Goslings?
Yeah.
Anywhere near
Goslings,
their
yeah.
the little brood, then you're in for it. Like they don't even care. They don't care how big you are, how strong you are, what animal you are. They will come after you with the full force of their wing flap.
Yeah, no thank you. They freak me out. Birds freak me out. I know it's weird, but they absolutely do. But
So Rivali's your favorite champion from Breath of the
Rivali's
Wild.
fine. I mean, fictional birds are cool. We have a lot of cranes and a lot of herrings around here, and they are massive. I mean, they
Yeah.
stand nearly as tall as I do, and I just want nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
That's just me. I'm
They could
fictional.
get ya.
Rivali's fine. Totally good with Rivali. But if I can avoid a bird, I will.
You know, I'll nab Goose Game this week, and then I'll give
Good.
you an update on
So
my
yeah,
family's
next week-
impression of it.
Next week's podcast, we got to come back and talk about Goose Game.
We'll talk some goose.
All right. So in today's episode, so I guess we're done with the Goose Game. We have at least a little bit to talk about regarding Mario Kart Tour. I've been playing it now since the day it's come out. I play it nearly every day, but I still feel weird about it, and I'm getting to a point where I'm beginning to think if I should stop playing, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. So TJ, you've played the game too. I saw your
Yeah.
posts on Twitter. So before we go into like the polarizing aspects of this, like the microtransactions, what do you think of the gameplay itself?
I heard a lot of people were critical of the way that it controlled.
Yeah,
They said that it actually diminished from the experience of the beta. I was not in on the beta.
yeah, me
It
neither.
took me like maybe a cup or two to understand the controls, but I actually find it to be one of the easiest Mario Karts to control that I've ever played. I'm ambidextrous, so
Yeah,
most of the things that I do, I try to do as evenly as possible with right and left hand. But in video games, there's always a very specifically designated uh, job
yeah,
task for each hand. Your left hand typically controls the direction. Your right hand typically controls the inputs. And so I'm used to racing with my left hand. But as soon as I was able to turn like I turn in real life,
yeah.
where I scrub one way if I want to turn one direction and the other way, and the drifting controls exactly according to my intuition. So I really like the way that it controls. I
So
like the
there's two modes. There's two control modes. One is like a standard one, and then there's like a free drifting mode.
I'm in free drifting mode.
I can't use it. I
Oh,
suck at it.
I didn't even try the other one. I once I started using the free drift, I was like, yeah, okay, I
Yeah,
like this. This is where I want to be. And it reminds me of Double Dash. The way that they live in the drift, I want to spend my entire time in the drift.
yeah,
And since the Wii, there are some inside drifting vehicles, and those ones confuse me.
yeah,
So I try to stay away from the bikes and stuff because they don't cling to the track the way that I expect them to. But this vehicle, I love how you can adjust it while you're in the drift,
yeah.
and it lets me really hug those turns. The game feels very fun to play. The tracks are short,
They
and
are.
I like that better. I think 2 laps I prefer that. I'm finding that most of the times that I used to get really aggravated
Yeah,
to the point of not wanting to play anymore in Mario Kart is when I put this investment of time and then I get blue shelled right at the finish line.
yeah,
But when you only have to do 2 laps, if that happens to you, which has happened to me a few times in this game too, I'm a blue shell magnet. I know
yeah,
everybody who plays the game feels that way, but like I could be just about crossing the finish line and then boom, or I just start to go over a big ravine and then boom, and I drop
yeah,
down in there. So only having to do another 2 laps, not that big of a deal. I can be like, okay, I could do this another time. Where if you do an entire 3 loops around some courses, it's defeating and you don't want to play
Oh
anymore.
yeah.
So I haven't really had that experience with this game. From a play and display standpoint, I think that this game is phenomenal. It's actually much better than I thought. I expected it to be a really diminished experience from playing on a console,
Yeah.
but I think the controls are tight, the handling is tight, and being able to do it in the vertical display doesn't bother me at all.
Oh yeah,
Doesn't bother
I
me.
think it's really well designed. It feels like the GameCube version or the Switch version, obviously with slightly different controls, but it's gorgeous. I mean, the game itself is absolutely gorgeous. That kind of taller aspect ratio that you're getting out of this too. They make good use of it. They really do, and the courses look absolutely fantastic. So from a visual standpoint, I think it's great. The control standpoint too, I'm in the same boat. I think it controls very easily, even though you and I are using two very different control schemes, which is I think why they put two in there. The thing I'm not thrilled about with it, besides the microtransactions, which we'll get into,
Right.
I'm more concerned that like Rainbow Road came out today, but there's no way to fall off of it. Like all of the tracks like magnetically pull you to the point where you cannot go off of them. There's
Yeah.
very specific ways I guess you can. Like if you get hit by an item in midair, you could fall off. But by and large, you're not falling off the course. And I get that you don't have the precise controls that you would with like a joystick. So I'm guessing they want to keep people on the course as much as they can. But like when you're doing Rainbow Road, one of the things that makes Rainbow Road great is you need to be precise or you're going to fall off. There's just no risk of that with this game. I know it's kind of a minor complaint, but from a Mario Kart perspective, it feels just slightly weird knowing that there isn't that, what's the word I'm looking for, urgency to be just hyper aware of the courses.
Well, this has really been the trend that they've gone with these games, right? I mean, in the Super Nintendo one, you could fall off nonstop. You could spend
Yeah.
the entire race falling off of the course. And with each progressive game, they made it a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more forgiving. And with the most recent remake on Switch, they make a mode where you can prevent yourself from ever falling off the
Yeah.
side. I definitely think that that has its application for really competitive racers. They, of course, want all of the risk.
Yeah.
But when I'm playing alongside a kid, it's great for me to not have to constantly try to help them and then also race at the same time and allow us to still in some ways be competitive.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of changed my purview on that. I tend to remove any sort of handicaps as a matter of default.
Yeah.
But I like that they're there so that I can do it for the kids.
Oh, yeah,
but
I
to
agree.
eliminate them all together across the board, like you're saying for this mobile game, I guess they've kind of been trending in that direction for a while, so
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me.
But overall, I mean, like I said, I think you and I are on the same page regarding the game itself. Would I prefer that I paid $40, $20, and just unlock the content? Yes. Because the game itself is great. I'm having a good time with it. I'm just full disclaimer, I haven't spent any money on this game yet. Down the road, I might, depending on if they add Link, because I want Link in this game. And I'd probably spend some good money to make sure I could get Link. But that being said, the microtransactions in this game are pretty insane, at least in my opinion. This latest update that came out this morning introduced 14 new racers. All the Koopa kids,
Yeah.
Bowser Jr., Rosalina, baby Rosalina, Lakitu, I think, is in this, which is kind of neat. Wario's in this now. Still no Luigi, which is bizarre. I think there's going to be some sort of Luigi's Mansion tie-in cup, and that's when
Makes
they're going to do,
sense.
like, they're going to have all the ghost houses, and that's when they're going to release this. I think that makes the most sense. But in order to get most of the good characters, because the big ones this time around, you get like a kimono Peach, a kimono Mario. Last time I think we had Pauline, not Paulatina. So Pauline, and who else did we have?
It was like Mario in his music suit.
Yeah, that's the only good one that I've gotten so far. And then it was Peachette. So all of these are like their 0.25% chance of pulling this one.
Right.
And depending on the course that you're playing, if you have one of these characters, you have a better chance of getting a frenzy. And they really want you to put your hard-earned money into getting these characters. But the gacha system in this game, I'm getting really sick of it.
See, I'm not so convinced that they really do want you to, because they present it as such an impossible and unlikely proposition that they're not even secretive about the fact, hey, you are probably, it doesn't matter how much money you put in this, you are probably not going to get the character that you want to get.
Yeah.
And they're straight up front about that. So in some ways, it makes me feel like they're almost cautioning you against spending money.
Oh, I feel the opposite, because so when I first got the game, I was earning coins like crazy. It was easy to get coins. I had more coins than I knew what to do with. And occasionally, once you're past level 12, a good character might show up in the shop that you can purchase with coins. I think it's like 3,000 coins for a good character. Might be a little bit more. That being said, I was able to do that once, and then another great character showed up. And I'm like, cool, I want to get this one too. I didn't have enough coins, so Nintendo just teases you with that coin rush mode that's at the top of the screen, where you can spend rubies on being Gold Mario and collecting a massive amount of coins. So they know that's the other way to do it too. So you run through coin rush, and there's no skill to it whatsoever. You run through the coins in your car, you collect all the coins, and then you buy your character. So there's always some way for them to kind of nickel and dime you in this game.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that it's one of the most egregious, offensive, and in-your-face Nintendo. I wouldn't even just say Nintendo mobile game across the board. I've never been just more viscerally disgusted by how prevalent that is, and it is for the first time. I feel like a strong impediment to the game itself, But when Mario Run came out,
Yeah.
I bought the game 3 times. I bought it on every device I have, on every account I have, and I don't regret it at all because
Yeah.
we have more than had $30 worth of fun on
Oh,
this
for
game.
sure.
It was a blast. It was what I would describe as a complete experience. And then when Fire Emblem Heroes came out, I played that game a lot. I've probably clocked more hours in that game than any mobile game so far. I fell off pretty quick with
Yeah.
Pocket Camp, and for all of I don't even want to venture guess how many hours I put into Fire Emblem Heroes. But the first time I ever played it, they throw a bunch of those orbs at you so you can summon. I summoned 3-star bursts. So some scrub character that I never even heard of, the lowest possible rank, and I got 3 in a row. And from that moment, I was like, okay, I understand. Lesson heard loud and clear. Never spend money on this game. And so in all that time, I have never dropped a dime. I have never paid them a single cent. But if they would have said, hey, this is the Smash Brothers packet, get every single character who is in Smash Brothers, and you can pay $20, I would have done that. I would have flat out done that in a second. I'm like, I have spent way more than $20 worth of time on this game. So Mario Kart Tour gave me a similar gift. The first time that I ever did it, just like you said, they throw some rubies at you and let you do a bunch of pipe pulls. I pulled that pipe, and I got the same vehicle part 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, lesson learned. I will never spend a single cent on this game.
Yeah, I got like 6 Baby Marios so far, I think. I think that's the worst offender for me.
That's the only character I have. Every one of my racers is like low-tier garbage racer. I like the characters, but as far as the advantages that they afford you when you're on the track are minimal. I don't have any of the really rare ones that you were talking about.
So I mentioned before that I'm still playing the game, and this is where I forgive the game to a certain degree. I haven't spent money yet. It's aggravating because I don't have the characters that I want, but the game is still fun and it's still free for me. I haven't paid a thing for this thing yet, and it's still, I've put hours of time into this game and it's still fun. But there's so many characters that I want to play as. I mean, there really is. And I know it's going to be so much more cosmetic than anything else. I mean, by and large, do I need Mario in a kimono? Probably not. I think it looks cool. I think it's neat. I'd like to add it to the collection. I mean, if you look behind me, you can see I collect things. I mean, I'm the perfect sucker. I'm the perfect sucker for gacha games. And I'm doing my best to stop. Because every single time I get enough rubies to pull something, it's a massive disappointment.
Right.
And I need to get to a place where I'm okay with the fact that I'm not going to collect everything and just be fine with that. But I think that there are people out there who have more impulse control problems than I do. And trust me, I used to be there. So I think to a certain degree, microtransactions, not necessarily just Nintendo, but a lot of companies, they prey on those kinds of people. But at the same time, too, I think Nintendo is a little bit more upfront about it. They give the odds on pretty much everything. They let you know that, listen, you're going to only have like a 0.25% chance to get this thing. So at least they're honest. I mean, they're not trying to hide anything.
They're like, look, players, this game was designed to disappoint you. Like we made this gacha gimmick expressly to give you the false hope that you might pull the character that you want, but in all likelihood you're not going to. That's kind of what I find so frustrating about, and I don't want to just come down on Nintendo about this, but Nintendo games tend to be the only ones that I gravitate towards, so it's the lion's share of my experience. This particular game is just such an impediment to my personal enjoyment, where I like racing. I think it's great. I love that aspect of it is free. Honestly, I'd rather pay you. I would rather give you money and you allow me to play the game in the way that rewards developing skill, in a way that allows me to enjoy the unlocking experience instead of that to be a part of the game that I find the least enjoyable. And Mario Kart has a long-standing tradition of it incentivizing you to race more, to play more. Because if you do, they dangle this carrot of you'll get to unlock new characters, you'll get to unlock new tracks, you'll get to have new cups or new challenges. That's a ton of fun. But in this game, it's like Yeah, great job. You got first place 4 times in a row. Frankly, we don't care because the character that you used isn't capable of generating enough points
Yeah.
for you to be able to earn enough credit for you to have the remote chance of trying to access a new character that might be able to help you move to the next level in this game. And the fact that it flies in the face of classic gaming virtues is, I think, the worst affront to gaming altogether.
So I do want to touch base on one more thing on this, and that is probably the worst part about the entire microtransaction portion of Mario Kart Tour, and that is that Nintendo, in their infinite wisdom, decided to come up with a $5 gacha subscription service per month. So for $5, you get this gold pass, which gives you more rewards that you can use to spend into like the gacha system. So for $5 a month, you might get an additional couple drivers, a couple like tickets to upgrade your stuff, and I'd say probably double the rubies that you typically would get. But it's
the nerve of Nintendo to charge for nothing, to charge for literally nothing.
So there's a 2-week free trial for this. So if you want to try it out, go for it. It's 2 weeks. I signed up for it.
I don't.
It's definitely
not even
beneficial,
worth free to me.
But it's not worth $5 a month. It's absolutely not.
Now, if you were selling a tangible thing, they say, hey, subscribe to our $5 a month loot box. We'll give you one random character that you don't have, one nice new vehicle accoutrement, something cool, some cosmetic bits, something where you were guaranteed to get something that you wanted for your money. That's the biggest problem. They're essentially charging you for an expanded opportunity to potentially get something that you want. You're paying for a potentiality, which is so frustrating. When I buy a game, I expect that the game's going to provide for me some guarantees.
Yeah.
Like the Smash Brothers Fighter Pass. It was largely a mystery. We had no idea at the time when they first started selling this $25 package what you were going to get, but there were guarantees. You knew you were going to get one new fighter, one new stage, and some new music tracks. And that degree of mystery was enough for me to just drop that money day and date. The second they announced it, I did it because I knew what I was getting. With this Mario Kart thing, maybe the Gold Pass enables you to have that magic pull that gets that special character you want. Maybe you get the same stinking car part over and over again.
I totally agree.
That's dirty pool.
I'm not a big fan of the system itself, but I mean, I think they said there was 100 million downloads of this game already, which is an asinine amount. I'm curious to see how this pays off for Nintendo. I want to see the numbers. I want to see if they come out with the subscriber numbers too, because I'm curious how many people actually stuck with that $5 per month, because it's going to determine what Nintendo is going to keep doing. The Wall Street Journal came out about 2 years ago and said that Nintendo's working on a mobile Zelda game.
I'm scared now. No, I'm scared. When I first heard that they were working on a mobile Zelda game back right after the release of Breath of the Wild, they were like, yeah, we're going to move this up on our priority list. And there hasn't been another word about it since that I've heard. Now I'm terrified.
Yeah,
I would love to be able to play a Zelda game. If it's going to be anything like this, I'm not even going to download it. Here's a TMI TJ moment. So normally when I must attend to nature, I just grab my Switch in portable mode and I make a little bit of progress in Hyrule Warriors. You know the deal.
There you go.
But there was a time this week where I actually took my iPhone instead. I was like, no, I'll do a couple Mario Kart races. And it kind of struck me as, wow, Nintendo found a way to actually make me rather play on my phone, at least in this moment, than play on my actual Nintendo console. Yeah. But I think they cured me of that. Well, for me, it was last night when I downloaded the new update that you're talking about with Rosalina and Wario and Koopalings, Lucky 2. And I finished the first race on the next cup, and then it got stuck in this endless loop.
Ooh.
So my baby Peach, my best character that I have, was just doing a nonstop track, a victory lap. I got first place.
Yeah.
Because I'm awesome like that. But she just kept going over and over again. And it gave me the little loading ticker in the front, that gauge. And the gauge was still active, so I could tell that it was maybe thinking.
Yeah.
But after maybe like 6 or 7 minutes, I was like, okay, there's a problem here. I don't know if it's a known bug. I don't know if anybody else has experienced
Yeah,
this
I've
with
never
their
seen
game.
that.
But I'm like, okay, I think I'm done. I'm going to crash this thing, and maybe I won't ever click on it again. We'll see.
Well, all I can say is at this point is I'm still going to play the game. I'm enjoying it to a certain degree for what it is. I think that there's definitely things they can do to improve it, but I think time is going to tell. We're going to get numbers on this, I'm sure, pretty soon. And I think it's going to determine what Nintendo's going to keep doing with their mobile, stuff. And with 100 million people downloading this, I'm guessing they've made a fair share of money. So only time is going to tell. I'm really curious to see what it's going to be.
I would really be curious to know the breakdown from people who are like you and I, who play the game, like the game, wish that there was a reasonable way to spend money on the game, but have not.
Yeah.
What percentage of those people would have bought the game for a much higher price tag than they can make it gacha? I'm sure the gacha.
Yeah. I'm sure at this point they've done the
grossly
R&D and the they've discussed or not discussed it. They've looked at the numbers, and I'm sure they're going the route that's probably most profitable for them.
I'm sure.
Because I mean, at this point too, I mean, if it's like a one-time purchase type thing, it's done after the hype wears down. But there's going to be hardcore players that are going to keep playing this. I mean, I don't want to know how much money I've spent in Pokemon Go, because Pokemon Go is my mobile kryptonite, and I've been spending money for 3 years, so I don't want to know. And I'm sure that there's Mario Kart Tour players in 2 years that are going to say the exact same thing.
I gave Pokemon Go pity money because they were so generous with Pokeballs and Pokestops that I never had any reason to spend any money on it. And finally I was like, okay, I'm going to pick up a few dollars worth of cosmetics so my character can look a little cooler. I didn't need them, but the countless hours that I spent out with my kids playing with this, I kind of wish I could have spent $50 on that
It's
game.
the raid passes for me. The raid passes are, you get one a day. And when I'm doing raids with friends, I mean, we can do 8 to 10 raids a day. So you get one for free, and then it's $1 each after that. So
I'm a disgusting casual, so I really just use it to exercise and hatch eggs and catch Pokemon and open Pokestops as far as anything else goes. As far as following
there's
the
nothing
story
wrong with
or
that.
gyms.
That's the smart way to play. But when they're
I don't know if
dangling a
it's smart,
shiny
it's kinda
Mewtwo
like
in front
the-
of your face, like they did with me last night, that you
Yeah, I
only
get all
have
those
like
messages.
a 1 in 15 chance of catching, I'm going to keep doing raids until I get one.
Okay,
So,
you know what is crazy? Here in Taiwan,
yeah.
Pokemon Go is a rager. And like you walk outside, the median age of people is probably 40 years old
Sure.
or older with 6 devices, all managing these devices at the same time, walking around and catching stuff.
Yeah.
It was really like a staggering sight to me when I first saw it, because it's not like 1 or 2 people. It is like hordes, mobs of people coming, all with many devices, many accounts that they're balancing all at the same time, trying to catch these rare Pokemon.
Yeah.
There was like a Rayquaza event, I think, recently, and then there was the Mewtwo yesterday. And as soon as I can walk outside of my apartment and be like, there's a Pokemon event going on, because Bihou Park is just totally swarmed with people. All right, there you go. It's awesome.
It's still a phenomenon. It really is. And I'm having a blast with Pokemon Go still. So I hope they keep going forever. I really do. I mean, they have more Pokemon than they'll ever know what to do with. So I'm sure it's going to keep going.
I wonder if there's some kind of ceiling on the game's capacity. Like if it can balloon out of proportion in terms of the scale that the game can support.
I'm sure.
I don't know.
I'm sure they'll figure it out. As long as there's money to be made still, which last month they made, I think it was their best month in 3 years, which is saying something. I mean, they'll keep pumping them out, I'm sure. But so we've talked about Mario Kart Tour. So we have Ring Fit Adventure to talk about. I am beyond excited for Ring Fit. So number one, back in the day, this was about, let's see, 7-8 years ago. Actually, probably more like 10 years ago now. When the Wii Fit came out. When did the Wii Fit come out? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
During the Wii era, sometime after 2005, maybe like Yeah, sometime after 2005. I don't know.
So I was incredibly unhealthy. I was 210 pounds when that game came out.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I didn't care about exercise. I didn't care about eating right. And I was obsessed with Nintendo. So I was one of those guys. So Wii Fit came out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy this thing. I'm going to try to change my life. I'm going to see what I can do. And that game motivated me to lose 60 pounds in like, it was about 4 or 5 months. I got into it hard. And granted, Wii Fit wasn't a replacement for a full body workout, but it motivated you to get on the scale every day. It weighed you. It gave you ideas of what you could do. So every morning, I'd do my Wii Fit routine, and then I would go do more. Wii Fit would inspire me to go out, go to the gym, do more stuff, and then come back, and maybe I would do another Wii Fit routine, and then I could watch my progress on, this virtual screen. You had your little me character who you could like start it off fat, and then you could see it getting smaller and smaller. I mean, it was really good motivation. And I know Wii Fit was kind of the butt of a lot of jokes, but it was an absolute godsend for me.
Yeah, it might have been the butt of the jokes, but Nintendo laughed all the way to the bank.
Oh, for sure.
That's,
Everybody
that's
had
one of the
Wii
most
Fit.
successful games they've ever made.
Oh, yeah. Everybody had Wii Fit. And Nintendo tried to do the same thing with Wii Fit U, but I think the movement kind of passed to a certain degree because it didn't do nearly as well. And then there's been fitness games that have come out on Nintendo consoles ever since. Most recently, Fitness Boxing, which was published by Nintendo, which was a quite fun game. I mean, nowhere near Wii Fit in terms of like longevity. But it was an interesting game, and it got me sweating, and I enjoyed it. I actually reviewed that game for Nintendo Wire. So now, here I am. I'm 34 years old now. I'm not 210, but I'm not where I was after I was done playing Wii Fit. I have a couple pounds I could stand to lose. And thank God Ring Fit Adventure comes out next week. And it's this ridiculous game with this ring that you can use for just cardio exercise. And it's in this fantasy setting where you're fighting dragons and monsters. And everything about this looks hokey, but at the same time, too, it's just the thing you need to stay motivated. Like
Yeah.
when you have games like Fitness Boxing, I mean, you're boxing, and you have this instructor on the screen who's telling you what to do, and you're doing it to some like 5 or 6 songs or stuff like that. It gets really boring really quickly. But when I'm taking down a Cyclops with like my fire ring that I'm using, like there's something just magical about that only Nintendo
Yeah.
could pull off.
Yeah.
So we actually had the opportunity to play the game a bit early in New York a couple weeks back, and we have our impressions up on our website right now if you want to check it out. Everything about this game is just Nintendo magic at its finest. Do I think
On
it's going to
that
do
note,
super well? I don't know. I hope it does, but it's magic.
there was this amazing tweet that I saw, and I'm going to do this from memory because I don't remember who
Sure.
tweeted it or what it is, but they said something like, Microsoft, our next console has the most amazing processor that's ever been known to the history of gaming. Sony, our graphics are so realistic you won't even believe it. Nintendo, and it showed this gif of the guy on the ground holding the ring, kicking his legs like this. Ah! And I'm like, of course, that is
Yeah.
so, Nintendo has always marched to the beat of their own drum, and you know what? If they want to take this Pilates ring, stick a Joy-Con in it, and have me go at it with a bodybuilding dragon, I'm game.
Yeah.
I'm in. Count me in. I'll do that.
If it gets people moving that typically don't move, that's great. I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing you need to get a generation of kids or adults to get some exercise in. And I'm going to play this with my daughter for sure. I mean, my daughter's a
Same.
gamer. She, like I said before, we're obsessed with Untitled Goose Game. She's going to love this game. And she's not going to have any idea that this game is going to be good for her. It's not part of the MO of the game. The game is have fun, but at the same time, too, it's get in shape. So there's something
Yeah.
about it that just makes me incredibly happy. And I'm planning on picking this thing up on day one. I'm sincerely debating setting up like a fitness club on Nintendo Wire where people
Ooh.
can share their experiences with the game, motivate each other to keep playing, share progress they've made.
Man, I'd be in on that.
Yeah, I'm seriously considering putting it together. It was something I actually wanted to do for fitness boxing, but the install base was so low.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this is going to be a better opportunity to get the ball rolling on something like this because number one, it's good for a community, and number two, it's better when you have people playing and motivating each other. It's going to just make you more successful, I think, in the long run. So,
Absolutely.
Are you planning on picking this up?
I'm going to pick it up on the day it comes out.
Yeah.
I'm coming at it from a little bit of a different angle than you were, but I think my takeaway is the same. I'm just as excited. I feel the same way about all that stuff. For me, fitness has always been a super
for sure.
Important aspect of my life.
I mean, look at you. Look at this guy. Chiseled.
I really enjoy being physical, and I enjoy challenging my body in different ways, and I compete in Taekwondo, and the better shape you are, the better you are at doing the sport. And
yeah.
I really enjoy finding fun things that I can try to convince my body to do. And Nintendo has a way of creating things that I never expected that my body might do, like WarioWare on Wii, while not explicitly an exercise game. It had me doing all kinds of awkward stuff, and it enabled me to convince all of my friends to do incredibly hilarious, awkward stuff.
Yeah.
And Wii Fit provided a similar experience for me. And even until, I would say until I moved to Taiwan, I was competing on the national level in Taekwondo, and there is no better scale out there than the Wii balance board. So I would log into Wii Fit U just for the purposes of making sure that I was going to make weight for fighting. Yeah. And my family did too, and my kids did too. One interesting anecdote, though, is because of my weight and height ratio, I'm always super fat on the Wii U.
Are you serious?
So it'll measure me, and it'll say, "You're obese."
Oh, that's sad.
I accept it. I don't have any ego about it. I'm satisfied with and confident about my appearance. I probably have like 10% body fat.
Yeah, you're fine.
But when you measure a BMI, it's not exactly measuring the ratio of fat versus muscle. So it kind of has my proportions a little bit skewed. But and also for children, it doesn't really know how to calculate that. So the algorithms that they're using to measure your level of fitness might not be strictly accurate as far as their screen display.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know that was a detriment to the experience of playing the game. I like Tubby TJ running around and doing something. He was kind of charming.
I would like to see Nintendo bring back the balance board to a certain degree. I mean, you can't go into a Goodwill without finding 10 of them. I mean, they're everywhere. I have two. I have two in my garage somewhere right now. So I would like to see Nintendo say, okay, we're going to like throw balance board support into this. Number one, I think I like the idea of measuring my success to a certain degree. And you're right, that scale was darn good. And
it's like four scales put together. So you don't really get, not only does it measure how much you weigh, but it also measures how much pressure you're putting on each part of your foot. So
that board was absolutely ahead of its time. It really was. And now I feel bad every time I see one at a Goodwill for like $2. Like there's something sad about it. There really is. But I don't know. I'm excited for this one. I think Nintendo is going to be, it's going to be wildly successful or it's going to fail. I don't think there's going to be an in-between on this one.
I think you're right. And you know what? The marketing on it, I totally got it when they dropped that mysterious trailer where you saw a bunch of people playing with some strange ring and you didn't know what it was. And they're doing all these strange but interesting and hilarious exercises, but it somehow seemed like a communal experience because there were a bunch of people around. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I already feel like I'm going to buy this. And then they did that kind of, I don't want to call it a direct, but like a really strange commercial with two people who were...
Oh, yeah, that was terrible. That was so bad.
You know, I don't know to what extent they were directed to behave that way or what the case was, but it was such a weird off-putting energy that I felt awkward watching it, where I was like, okay,
they were a bit creepy.
Let's cut away to some game footage because this is tough to watch. And at the same time, I could separate that the game seemed fun, the game seemed exciting, but the presentation, I'm not really sure what they were going for on that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that initially kind of scared me off is, while I'm all about giving this thing a try,
Yeah.
I live for the first time in over a decade in an apartment, and I was like, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do this. I'm on the 6th floor of a building. This is going to be terrible. But then they
there's
introduced
a lot
that,
of leg movements on this one. I mean, there's
yeah,
virtual running and things like that, which I'm excited for.
yeah.
But I totally see where you're coming from.
But as soon as they said, oh, and we also have a silent mode, I was like, okay, all right, I'm in. I'll give it a try. I don't know how fully satisfying silent mode is going to be. I don't know how good of a workout it's going to be. It's okay. I'm not going to rely on this game to be my workout, but I still think I'll have a lot of fun playing it. And if I can find some way to do it without disturbing my neighbors, then all right, I'm in.
I'm excited. I'm planning on letting you know, like, the moment I pick this up, because I want your opinion on this too. But the next podcast we have, I think it comes out 2 days after that. So I think 2 weeks from now we'll reconvene and have our kind of first discussion about this.
Yeah.
So anybody listening to this, come and find me on Twitter. I'm at Amiibo Jason. Let me know if you're picking this up or if you have any desire to like join a fitness club on this, because I'd love to get one going. So Nintendo, I'm really counting on you to make this one fun. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So cool. So we have a couple other kind of mini topics we can talk about too before we kind of put this episode to bed. There is kind of an update to the Toys R Us saga. It's not necessarily the update that a lot of people want, but ToysRUs.com is officially back up. It's more or less kind of like a shopping guide. It shows you the hottest toys, but if you click it, it takes you to purchase those toys at Target. So it's bizarre. So
That's
it's more
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially now it's just an online catalog, and you buy it at Target. I get it. I mean, they don't have a business model set up at this point. I'm wondering if this is what we should expect now from this point going forward, if there's going to be more of like a formal agreement with Target. But it's worth just letting you guys know that this is a thing that's happening right now. There was conversation that it was going to be relaunching as Jeffrey's Toy Box. That kind of fizzled out a bit. And then there was another conversation that Toys R Us was going to end up in malls later this year. But now with this Target thing, part of me feels like it might just be more of an agreement with other retailers. But I think only time is going to tell on this one.
It would be strange to me if it was an exclusive arrangement with Target, because Target already has their own website.
Yeah.
But if it was like a toy finder where you put in the toy that you want and it finds where you can find that toy, okay, I think that that's a pretty useful service. If people are looking for a particular amiibo, they can't keep bothering Amiibo Jason. They just plug it into. So having like a dedicated service to tracking down in-demand toys, I see that having a place.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, hey, come to ToysRUs.com so that you can buy a toy from Target, I don't really understand that.
There's something weird about it. I think the thing is, the Toys R Us people, whoever owns the IP at this point, they have no idea what they're doing with this at this point. This is the fourth thing I've heard they were doing with the brand. So part of me feels like this is what's happening today. And next week, they're going to be doing something completely different, and they're going to be back on track to do something else. So
yeah, I understand their hesitation, because there's obviously some money in toys. There's obviously some value in the brand. But if the store wasn't able to keep its doors open and they can't equate that to bad business practices, if it's just simply fewer people walking into a brick and mortar to buy toys and toys not being enough to support the entire business model, that's a harder question to answer, because it has value, but how do you make it sustainable? And smarter minds than myself have to be able to answer that. It looks like they're struggling with it a little bit.
Who knows? It's going to be interesting. It really is. The last real quick thing I wanted to touch on tonight was PlayStation 5. Again, I know it's not like a PS5 specific podcast, but at the same time too, we're all gamers here. I'm planning on picking the PS5 up. And it does
affect the general state of the industry.
Yeah, I mean so Sony kind of shadow dropped the PlayStation 5 is coming. It's called the PlayStation 5. It's coming out holiday of 2020.
At least, I don't have many good things to say about PlayStation.
Yeah.
I don't have many things to say about PlayStation. I'm more of like apathetic towards their games. But one compliment that I have to pay them is I admire that of all of the video game consoles out there, they came up with the most simple and straightforward naming convention, and that I appreciate.
Yeah, it's simple. You know what you're getting every single time.
You're getting.
So I'm kind of the opposite. I love PlayStation. I love the IPs. I'm going to be picking up Final Fantasy VII Remaster the moment that game comes out. The Last of Us is fantastic. Spider-Man was great. I really do love the system. So the PlayStation 5 is going to be coming out in 2020, holiday 2020, around the same time as I think it's Project Scarlet from Xbox, so the new Xbox. So holiday 2020 is going to be a good old-fashioned console war, pretty much like we saw with the PS4 and the Xbox One. We're in a very weird position right now because the Nintendo Switch is outselling its competitors for the first time in many, many years. Seeing Nintendo on top is great. I mean, obviously, I run a Nintendo site, so it's great to have the news to cover. But just being an all-out fan of Nintendo, watching this newfound success for them is fantastic, especially coming off a flop like the Wii U.
Yeah.
So 2020 is going to be interesting because Nintendo obviously is underpowered in comparison to the competition. And I personally believe that's fine. We don't need 3 insanely powerful consoles on the market. But the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Scarlet are going to push things so much further past where they are right now with the PS4 and the Xbox One that I think Nintendo is going to finally need to kind of step somewhere close to that. And I think maybe one console generation behind is where they're going to be for a while, and I'm totally fine with that. But part of me feels like holiday 2020 is probably going to be around the time where they're going to release the Switch Pro. Something that's been rumored for a while, something that has been more than rumored, something that has been leaked in the past as well, that Nintendo's working on an upgraded version of the Switch, better processing power, better GPU, that can play all the same games, but kind of like a PC where depending on the hardware that you have, it can scale it up. But part of me feels like with Sony and Microsoft publishing these things at the same time or putting them out at the same time, they're kind of forcing Nintendo's hand to do that as well. So I'm curious on your thoughts of it. Like I said before, I don't think Nintendo has to do anything. The Switch
I feel like they do have to do something because the Switch is an incredibly powerful handheld device. It is an incredibly underpowered console.
Yeah.
And the problem that they're going to face soon has nothing to do with their ability to generate and create good games that are fun and compelling for people to want to buy the system for. But it definitely will become problematic on a massive scale with third-party support.
Oh yeah,
they're
for sure.
They're already a console generation behind. They're playing games that were being played on the Xbone and the PS3. So they have, in any game that releases cross-platform, there are significant compromises that have to come to be able to get it onto the Switch.
And they're somehow doing it though.
They're somehow doing it, but
not very well all the time.
Well, sometimes they're doing a good job, but it really depends on the demands of the game.
Yeah.
So if I look at myself as a gamer who exclusively plays on the Nintendo Switch, there are times when I was perfectly happy to accept the Mortal Kombat that Ed Boon was able to provide for me on the Switch because it was the only one I was going to be able to play. But I was not willing to accept the what's that called? Bloodstained.
Yeah, Bloodborne.
I was not able to accept that version on the Switch. It was too much of a downgrade. So I would rather not play the game at all than play such an inferior version of it. I saw my brother playing it on PC. The game was amazing. It looked like everything I ever wanted a Castlevania game to be.
Yeah.
And
Dark Souls, right? Dark Souls.
No, not Dark Souls. I think it's Bloodstained.
Oh, Bloodstained, yeah. Ritual of the Night. Yeah, that one.
Yes. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. My brother was playing it. It looked phenomenal. I was like, oh, I'm buying this day one.
Yeah.
And then I saw it on the Switch. I was like, I can't buy this. I can't play this game like this. And so it actually kind of made me sad because it's so inferior that it actually, I would rather not even play it than play such a dramatically diminished version. Yeah. And now we're starting to talk about games, people being spoiled for options. You have so much space, so much redundant memory space, so much redundant processing power that when you develop these games, you don't need to worry about the same level of compression because it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you got these things that can run 4K, 60 frames per second locked, there are not too many more things that a gamer needs.
Yeah.
Eliminate loading time, and then that's it. So Nintendo already has, I would say, loading times that would qualify as excessive.
Yeah,
I love
can see
Breath of
that.
the Wild. I love Link's Awakening. I love Hyrule Warriors. They got some long loads on those
Yeah.
games. It's worth sitting through. It's worth playing them. But if I were to take all of my captured game footage and remove all the loading, I'll bet it's hundreds of hours. Of course, I played the game for thousands of hours, but
Yeah.
still, come on. Let's try to at least get Nintendo to the level. I know they play by their own rules. They march to the beat of their own drum. They prioritize innovation over convention, but conventional logic has to prevail in this case if they want to maintain relationships with third-party developers. If Nintendo wants to just go back to the Wii U era, I'm fine with that. I almost never buy third-party games. I am a Nintendo game devotee. They know how to develop for their own platform. They know how to maximize the capabilities of their systems. And I'm going to buy those games and play those games, and I'm going to love them. But I think the Wii U, along with its litany of other issues that the consumers had with it, the lack of third-party support did hurt that console. And so if they want to continue in that direction, then they could do that. They'll still have me. The Nintendo faithful will be there. But if they want to be able to continue to attract developers who are moving into a much more powerful era, they're going to need to step up to the plate and find some way to bolster the capabilities of the Switch. I don't know if that means removing the portable aspect. Maybe they're going back to a divided console line. I don't know how you would do it, where you could still have it. Maybe games automatically have a reduced version. See, I don't even want to speculate. I don't know how you could take those games and put them in a portable game and still have the same experience as when you're in console mode, because that's what developers are struggling with right now. And there's no way that a portable device can match the power of a console.
No, I agree. I'm still blown away that games like Doom can still run on the Switch. There's a game called Hellblade that was a PS4 exclusive that came over to the Nintendo Switch that blows my mind that they were able to do it. And obviously they made massive sacrifices to make that happen, but it's running. And I think that's what's going to end up happening with the Switch Pro, where there'll be a version that runs on handheld that's going to be severely cut down. Kind of like on PC, like the low quality mode that's kind of laughable compared to like the 4K high fidelity mode. So I feel like that's more or less what they're going to end up doing. But we are going to get to a point where the base Switch won't be able to keep up with a Pro if they end up doing that. So I'm curious to see if that's just going to shorten the Switch's lifestyle, or if they're going to go all new 3DS on you and say this isn't like a Switch Pro exclusive. I mean, there's a couple different ways it could go.
Yeah, and all of them, I think, are problematic. And all of them are going to divide the player base.
Yeah.
And I think Nintendo's got a lot of questions that they need to answer for themselves in terms of where are we going with this? What's the plan moving forward? Yeah. I think they know that the Switch is underpowered, and I think that while I'm not an expert, nobody has given me any reason to suspect that in this current technological climate that they're going to be able to have their cake and eat it too with the Switch's basic conceit where, you can play it on your console and you can take it with you when you leave, but it can also play all the same super sweet, cool games that you can play on your Scarlet or your PS5.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. Of course, it would be amazing, but I think that's far outside of the realm of likeliness. So we'll see. I'm curious to see what they're going to do.
Yeah,
Nintendo, even when they make decisions that are not commercially successful like the Wii U, it's still exciting. And I'm still going to go along for the ride no matter what it is.
I'm in the same boat. I'm really
ride or
curious
die,
too.
baby.
Anybody watching this too, if you have any thoughts on this, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments down below your thoughts on any of this. I mean, I think it's pretty early to kind of have the discussion, but at the same time too, it's kind of interesting knowing what the competitors are doing and what kind of gaming world we're going to be in a year and a half. So it's going to be an exciting year.
I think what they might do is just try to pinch out one more year with the Switch because they still have some titles that are going to do gangbusters. Maybe
Yeah.
they try to compete with the new console releases with Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah.
I don't think it's completely unforeseeable that game could be a holiday 2020 release. Maybe not, but I think it's possible.
I think they have to. If they want to stay competitive next year, you have to bring the big guns to that particular set of console launches.
And for parents who are looking at making some kind of big holiday purchase for their kids, they're like, wow, I can get Breath of the Wild 2 and an entire Switch console for
half the cost.
Probably $300 probably. And then I don't even know what you got to spend to get a PS5 or an Xbox, but this is going to be something that, too much.
I'm already saving already.
That's another issue that is emerging. As technology is increasing and as these systems become more and more capable, they're pushing out the casual gamer. And Nintendo's kind of filling that niche. So maybe Nintendo remains the casual budget buy, and the higher the price tag on PS5 and on Xbox, the more you push out the people who are only, who aren't hardcore. You got to be pretty hardcore to drop $1,000 on something.
It's pretty smart though.
So we'll see. A $200 handheld device that can play everything that the Switch can play. I could see that thing being an amazing holiday item this year.
Oh, I completely agree. I think we're going to see the Switch
next year. I don't know.
It's going to be insane, for sure. All right. Well, that's all the topics that we have, at least for this episode. Before we head out, TJ, where can the good folks find you?
Most of my content is right here on YouTube. I've been putting some hours into developing Custom Conquest Showcase, trying to showcase some custom amiibo figures. I've got an exciting one that I hope to get out pretty soon, based on some alternate Smash Ultimate figures.
Yeah.
So, and I stalk this YouTube channel in the comment sections as well. So
he does.
Find me here. And then also, if you want to connect with me on Twitter, the best Twitter handle is @CustomConquest.
Rock and roll. And then if you're curious about me, I am Amiibo Jason. You can find me on Twitter @Amiibo Jason. I'm the editor-in-chief of NintendoWire.com. You can find us on Twitter there @NinWire. We still have Amiibo News running, even though Amiibo News is not as prevalent as it used to be, but that's @Amiibo News. And obviously NintendoWire.com is where all of our content lives. So thank you for joining us for episode 2. TJ and I will be back next week for episode 3. But until then, stay wired in.
Thanks for playing.